Hi, my name is George Coles, and I am an avid retro video game collector.
Do a barrel roll!
I have decided to document my journeys as I grow my collection. Please join me as I share with you my finds. Welcome to Retro Game Treasure Hunting. Hi everybody, and welcome to Retro Game Treasure Hunting. My name is George Coles, and we're going to go through my last set of picks. It's probably a larger amount than I've ever had. I had to put them in a bag down here. So this has been accumulating for a little bit. I haven't done one of these videos for a while, so we're just going to go through them quickly. First up, we have Force Awakening 2 for PlayStation 3, Star Wars The Force Awakening 2. I like these. I like the Force Awakening games. I think they're really good Star Wars games. And as you've seen before, I've mentioned that some of the games are really good for the Star Wars series and some are very hit and miss. This is an actual good one. I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5. Part 1 is better, but still a really good game. Now next up, for PlayStation 1, just so happens how they came out the bag, guys. Star Wars Rebel Assault 2, The Hidden Empire. Not the greatest game, not the longest game. I think it's only about 2 hours of gameplay and about an hour of FMV video. But still a fun game. I was in the mood to get some flying games, and this is obviously a game you fly around in. I like the Rebel Assault games. They're fun to me. A lot of people are kind of hit and miss in people's minds, but I enjoy it. I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5. Next up, also for PlayStation 1, Bomberman Party Edition. And I like this game. I think it's a cool game. Cool thing about it, when I bought it, I noticed it came with 2 games inside, Cool Borders 3 being one of them. Not a game that's worth a lot, but I mentioned it to the guy that I bought it from, John, who runs Flash Comics games and collectibles in Sebring, Florida. I mentioned, there was 2 games stuffed in here, probably because someone was trying to steal one or switch them out or who knows what. He said, don't worry about it, Cool Borders ain't worth nothing, just keep it. So I got an extra game when I bought Bomberman Party Edition, and this is a cool Bomberman game if you're into the Bomberman game series. Probably a 4. I'd give it a 4, especially with the free Cool Borders 3, which is actually a good game. It's not terrible. It hasn't aged well, I don't think. Next up, and I know I'm not doing it on purpose, guys. Star Wars, the original trilogy, Star Wars 2, Lego Star Wars 2, the original trilogy. This is, as you see, Star Wars, the Lego version for GameCube. I like the Lego games. I think some of them are really fun. They're simple. They're not the most complex games. They don't have the highest risk-reward value, but I think there's fun to be had with them. And as you can see, it's pretty obvious. I love Star Wars, so like this game. I'm going to give this one a 3 out of 5. Next up, I almost lost my whole bag here. For GameCube, Blowout. Now you probably don't remember this, or you probably have never heard of this game. It's kind of a Metroidvania game, but it was a budget title even back when the GameCube was in its cycle. I think this was a $20 or even maybe at the most a $30 game. But you can have it now. I think I paid $7 for it, maybe. For the price of it, I think it's a really fun game, and it's really got some interesting things. It's not going to blow your mind. It's not going to be the greatest game you ever own. But it's a good, fun game that not a lot of people have and not a lot of people talk about. I'm going to give this one a 3 as well for Blowout. Next up, The Incredible Hulk Ultimate Destruction. I like this game a lot. This is probably my favorite Incredible Hulk game. I'm a huge huge Incredible Hulk fan. He's a reason I even watch or read comic books, because I used to watch the old, and this is dating me, Lou Ferrigno, Bill Bixby Incredible Hulk. It came out in the late 70s, early 80s. I watched it in reruns as I was a young kid, but it was still kind of newer, and that's what really drew me in. Watching that is what made me go to the grocery store one day with my mom and was walking past the magazine rack and see the Incredible Hulk comic book. Between this and the Batman, the 60s Batman series, which both used to play in afternoons where I grew up on TV, that's what got me into loving comic books, and then actually knowing what comic books was because of the Incredible Hulk. I seen the Incredible Hulk comic book and I had to have it. So from there on, been a lifelong love affair. Gonna give this one 4 out of 5, just like it says on the cover. I think it's a really, really good game. It's kind of slept on, in my opinion, and I don't know why, but hey, those are the kind of games that you get for cheap, because people don't really know what they have. Next up, Ultimate Air Combat. Like I mentioned a little bit ago, I was in the mood to play some air games, some flying games. So I bought a few of them. This one, while not the greatest, not even the greatest on the Nintendo, it's a fun game. Be perfectly honest, it's not my favorite game, not my favorite flying game on Nintendo. It's not aged well as I thought it may have. I remember playing this when I was a kid, and I liked it more then than I do now, but still, for the price of it, it's good to add to my collection. I'm going to give this one a 2 out of 5, Ultimate Air Combat. Next up, we have Defender of the Crown. This is a pretty alright game. This is kind of a RPG-ish type thing, strategy RPG. I like this game. It's not the greatest game, but I think it's fun. Again, I really like the cover. I really like the sticker art. For what it was, like another couple dollar game, $4 or $5 game. So for that, I mean, it was worth to me to buy just to add to my collection. I'm gonna give this one a 2 as well. Now we're getting into a really bad game. I did not know what this game was, and as you can see, somebody wrote on their 3rd floor. I don't know what that means, actually. Let me see, because I have some alcohol wipes. I was going to do this after the video. Let me see if it'll come off quickly. Just so you know, people, alcohol wipes. And there goes my games. The best pure alcohol you get, the easier it'll take off some of this stuff. The best thing for this that I found for markers, even permanent ones, you can see it took a little bit of it off. It's a combination of alcohol and magic eraser, but I don't have many magic erasers, so working with what I have right now. But this game, Wall Street Kid, I didn't know what it was, and my friend John, who again runs Flash Comics games and collectibles, he told me, he's like, I know you like weird stuff. Have you ever seen this? And I never did, so I bought it. It's terrible. It's probably going to rate it a 1. It's harkens back to old computer games where a point and click type thing, where it was text based. I really don't see any fun parts of it, but hey, I like owning bad games. Like I said, I'm going to give that one a 1. Let me pick up my games here. Oh. They went in a way that they started spilling out. So you know what? I'm just going to spill them out. Next up, because it's closest to my wheel and I don't want to run it over, Spider-Man and X-Men Arcade's Revenge for the Super Nintendo. Was sold at some point by www.gogamers.com. Sticker on the back. An LGN game. I have very fond memories of these games, playing these as kids. Like I said, I was a comic book kid, so I got these games. They're not great. They don't hold up well. It's okay. Probably give this one a 2. Next up, another one. I got a bunch of similar games at the same time. X-Men Mutant Apocalypse, kind of on the same realms, a little bit better. Capcom made this one, so it's a little bit better game, better quality. I'd give that one a 3. Next up, this game's not good at all, but I love having it. Captain America and the Avengers. I had to have this. My friend John had posted that he posts his daily pickups, and I said, I got to come up there. Got those two, and there's a couple more that you're going to see in a moment. But this was the main one. I had to have this game. It's not a great game. It's probably a 2 as a game. But I just had to have it because I love the fact that it's Captain America and the Avengers. Now next up, go back to some more. Again, I told you there was going to be a lot, guys. I'm sorry. It's been a while since I did one of these videos, so let's knock out these Nintendo 64 games. Nuclear Strike. Again, I mentioned I was, actually it says Nuclear Strike 64. I was into flying games. This game's awesome. I highly recommend this. You could get this for less than $10 on both Nintendo and PlayStation. Both versions are good. I think the PlayStation version is actually better from what I've heard. But still a good buy on Nintendo 64. I'm going to give this game a 4. I really like Nuclear Strike. This one's terrible. But as you may have seen from some of my older videos and some of what you can see here, I like weirdly licensed stuff. This is Xeno Warrior Princess Talisman of Fate. Terrible, terrible game. I give it a 1 out of 5. No real redeeming qualities other than the fact that it's a weird licensed game. And I enjoy weird licensed games. So let's put these here. I want to put these to the side because there's some real gems in that I want to get to towards the end. Next up, Fester's Quest for the NES. Again, I like weird licensed games. Not a great game. Probably a 2. Still fun to be had with it. I enjoy it because it is a fun game, but probably not the best. Metal Mech Man and Machine, a mech game for the Nintendo. Kind of early mech games before they really took off. This was actually a fun game. I'd probably give this one a 3. And I'm sorry if I'm ripping through these fast. Mostly it's, as you can see, there's so many of them, and I'll do a tally count at the end here. I don't even know how many are in here. WrestleMania Challenge. As you know, if you've been a long-time subscriber to my channel, I'm a wrestling fan. I don't know why I didn't have this until now. I thought I did for the longest time, but I didn't. So, it's added to my collection. Last but not least, for the NES games, Yoshi's Cookie. Another one with the JCH on the side, or a marker on the side. This came out late in the Nintendo NES life cycle. I think the Super Nintendo was already out by the time this came out. But this is a fantastic game. Probably, I'd have to say a 5 out of 5, to be honest with you. I really love this game. I think this is a really fun game to play. I think anybody that's played it will agree with me. And now, to the final couple are some more Super Nintendo games. We got Daffy Duck, The Marvin Missions. I really enjoy this game, and at some point it had a weird, it felt like a no theft logo on there. It had the metal, as a matter of fact, there's one here still on it. Let me see if I can peel it off. Yeah, see the metal pieces like you would get on the anti-theft devices Had two of them on the back, so must have came from a store that sold retro games, but also was worried about theft at some point. But anywho, I digress. This game's a really fun game, and I just lost part of my lighting, so the rest of this video is probably going to be extremely dark, as it's already kind of dark in here. But yeah, that's I'd probably give this one a 4 out of 5. And these two are my two favorite games that I picked up. Spider-Man Venom Maximum Carnage, an LGN game, but it's one that I rather enjoy. I really like. A couple things I really enjoy about this game. I think it had fun gameplay. I think it was fun. One of the better Spider-Man games up until the recent PlayStation 4 one. And I like the fact that it's a weird color cartridge. I mentioned this again before. I like getting the odd colored things that are different, that stick out. Really love this game. Probably give that one a 4 out of 5. Last but not least, the pièce de résistance, The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past. Again, for some reason, I had this at some point. I must have sold it and forgot, or let somebody borrow it and never got it back. But when I went through my collection to catalog everything, it wasn't in my collection, so I had to pick up another copy. Classic game. Anyone that doesn't tell you this is a 5 out of 5 is lying to you. Fantastic game, best of the bunch. But all in all, that was my pickup. Some really bad, some really good. Let's count through, see how many all together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And this is over a few different trips. It's not just one trip. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 21, so 22 because Cool Borders is in there with Bomberman. So 22 games picked up all together. Obviously my biggest collection video that I've put out. A lot of ones I like, some that I didn't like. Let me know what you think. What's your favorite game of the group? What's your least favorite game of the group? If you have a particular affection for any of the games you've seen. If it's the first time you've seen any of these games, maybe I've got you something that you might enjoy. But anyway, my name is George. Oh, before I do that, I did want to give a shout out to our Patreon supporter, IWE. If you want to check us out, support us on Patreon, support the channel, there's going to be a link down here in the description to do so. Any little bit helps. I appreciate any little bit, because that'll help me buy stuff like a better lighting system that holds a better charge. I thought it was fully charged before I started this video, but I digress. New things, I just bought a capture card, which you may have seen me use to do some ranking videos, so I'm thinking about using that to capture some retro game gameplay footage, other than footage, but like play along real-time stuff where you know, you guys can interact with me real time as I play the games, and you know, some other things like that to help the channel along. But anywho, I digress. With all this being said, my name is George Coles, and this has been another episode of Retro Game Treasure Hunting.